Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Gibaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Gibaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Gibaradari. Jaisacinandana Braja Janaranjana. Jaisacinandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanacharim. Jamuna Tira Vanacharim. Jamuna Tira Vanacharim. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Radhanath, Radha, Radhanath, Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gaura Hare, Gaura Hare, Gaura Hare, Jaya Gaura Hare. Tiger Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Gaura Hare Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Go Premanandi, Jayam Vishnupad, Paramasa Parivrajikacharya Stotra Srimad. His Divine Grace, shall I see Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Vedavyasadev ki, Bhaktivedanta Purpose ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. Lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Fourth Canto, Chapter 11. I think I'm entrusted with 2 verses today. Because Ranga was meant to do text 15, but yesterday was Prabhupada Leelamrita. It was Ekadasi, so please give me your blessings. Because both verses are connected actually, yes, so it's fine. Interrelated. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chevam Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nasta Praisya Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So we'll read the text 15 and there's a purport, but the actual verse for today is 16, so we'll just do the motions of 15. Bhutai Panchabir Arab Dair Yoshit Purusha Evai Tayorbya Vayat Sambhuti Yoshit Purusha Yohiha. Translation: the creation of the material world begins with the 5 elements, and thus everything, including the body of a man or a woman, is created of these elements. By the sexual life of man and woman, the number of men and women in this world, in the material world, is further increased. Purport. When Swayambhuva Manu saw that Dhruva Maharaj understood the philosophy of Vaishnavism and yet was still dissatisfied because of his brother's death, he gave him an explanation of how this material body is created by the 5 elements of material nature. In Bhagavad Gita is also confirmed, Prakrite Kriyamanani. Everything is created, maintained and annihilated by the material modes of nature. In the background, of course, there is the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Maya Dakshayana. In the 9th chapter, Krishna says, under my superintendence, material nature is acting. Swayambhuva Manu wanted to impress on Dhruva Maharaj that the death of the material body of his brother was not actually the Yaksha's fault. It was an act of material nature. The Supreme Person of Godhead has immense varieties of potencies, and they act in different gross and subtle ways. It is by such powerful potencies that the universe is created. Although grossly it appears to be no more than the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Similarly, the bodies of all species of living entities, whether human beings or demigods, animals or birds, are also created by the same 5 elements. And by sexual union, they expand into more and more living entities. That is the way of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. One should not be disturbed by the waves of material nature in this process. Dhruva Maharaj was indirectly advised not to be afflicted by the death of his brother, because our relationship with the body is completely material. The real self, spirit soul, is never annihilated or killed by anyone. So we do 16, we'll do the word for word. Both verses are, the purports are connected somehow. Evam Pravatate Sarga Stiti Samyamo Eva Cha Guna Vyatikarat Rajan Mayaya Paramahatmana Evam Pravatate Sarga Evam Pravatate Sarga Stiti Samyamahe Vacha Gunavyati Karad Rajan Gunavyati Karad Rajan Mayaya Paramatmanaha Evam Pravatate Sarga Stiti Samyamahe Vacha Gunavyati Karad Rajan Mayaya Paramatmanaha Evam Pravatate Sarga Stiti Samyamahe Vacha Gunavyati Karad Rajan Mayaya Paramatmanaha. Evam Pravatate Sarga Stiti Samyamahe Vacha Gunavyati Karad Rajan Mayaya Paramatmanaha. Evam Pravatate Sarga Stiti Samyamahe Vacha Gunavyati Karad Rajan Mayaya Paramatmanaha. Evam Pravartate Sarga Chiti Samyama Evacha Gunavyati Karadrajan Mayaya Paramatmanaha. Pravartate Sarga Chiti Samyama Evacha Vyati Karadrajan Mayaya Paramatmanaha. Pravartate Sarga Sthiti Samyama Evacha Gunavyati Karadrajan Mayaya Paramatmanaha. Evam Pravartate Sarga Sthiti Samyama Evacha Gunavyati Karadrajan Mayaya Paramatmanaha. Evam Pravartate Sarga Sthiti Samyama Evacha Gunavyati Karadrajan Mayaya Paramatmanaha. Evam, thus Pravartate occurs, Sarga, creation, Sthiti, maintenance, Shamyamya, Samyama, annihilation, Eva, certainly, Cha, and Guna, of the modes, Vyati Karat, by interaction, Rajan, O king, Mayaya, by the illusory energy, Paramahatmanaha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Manu continued, my dear King Dhruva, it is simply by the illusory material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by the interaction of the three modes of material nature that creation, maintenance, and annihilation take place. Everyone can repeat responsibly. Manu continued, my dear King Dhruva, it is simply by the illusory material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by the interaction of the three modes of material nature that creation, maintenance, and annihilation take place. Jai Sri Sri Radharanath. That was opening. Purport. First, creation takes place with the ingredients of the five elements of material nature. Then by the interaction of the modes of material nature, maintenance also takes place. When a child is born, the parents immediately see to its maintenance. This tendency for maintenance of offspring is present not only in human society, but in animal society as well. Even tigers care for the cubs, although the propensity is to eat other animals. By the interaction of the material modes of nature, creation, maintenance, and also annihilation take place inevitably. But at the same time, we should know that all is conducted under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything is going on under that process. Creation is the action of the Rajagun, the mode of passion. Maintenance is the action of Sattvagun, and the mode of goodness. And annihilation is the action of Tamagun, the mode of ignorance. We can see that those who are situated in the mode of goodness live longer than those who are situated in the Tamagun or Rajagun. In other words, if one is elevated to the mode of goodness, he is elevated to a higher planet system, where the duration of life is very great. Hudvam gachanti sattvasta. Great rishis, sages and sannyasis who maintain themselves in sattva gun or the mode of goodness, material goodness, are elevated to a higher planet system. Those who are transcendental even to the material modes of nature, situated in the mode of pure goodness, they attain eternal life in the spiritual world. Om Jnana Timarandasya Kananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumalitam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunath Hanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyahevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Sri Sri Radhanath Ki, Sri Giriraj Govardhan Ki, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari Ki, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we understand in Bhagavad Gita that in the introduction, Prabhupada explains the Bhagavad Gita entails the comprehension of the study of the 5 subject matters. That is Ishvara, the Supreme Person of Godhead, Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, material nature, Kala, time, the time factor, and Karma, so these 5 subject matters are discussed in Bhagavad Gita, and one should have an understanding of that. Karma is discussed very graphically in Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna is saying the intricacies of karma are very, very difficult to understand. He says like that. It is very, very difficult how things are happening, sometimes beyond our comprehension, and we try to understand these things, but sometimes it's beyond our capacity to understand because it's very, very intricate subject matter. So the identification of this body is the prime reason that we are in this material world. And this identification goes, and there's so many corollaries of that, isn't the identifying with your parents, next of kin, your siblings, and on family, relatives, friends. Then on a more national level, your country. That's how deep and profound this identification of this material body is, that we tend to identify with it. Somehow we are just prone, we're kind of conditioned that we, this body, isn't. But Krishna is speaking otherwise in Bhagavad Gita, and like Manu is also trying to remind Dhruva Maharaj about that in the last part of that paragraph. He says, Dhruva Maharaj was indirectly advised not to be afflicted by the death of his brother, because our relationship with the body is completely material. The real self, spirit soul, is never annihilated or killed by anyone. And Krishna disseminates so many verses, especially in chapter 2, discussing the nature of that. And even Arjun comes under this, although Arjun was seemed to be put into some illusion to act like so that Krishna could speak Bhagavad Gita. That was was put into this dilemma, acting like one of us, like a conditioned soul, and asking all these very pertinent questions on behalf of us. And Krishna, right at the beginning of that chapter, chapter 2, he chastises Arjuna. He said, you are speaking like a learned man, like a pandit, like you know everything. But you're fool number one, because you don't know the difference between death and the soul, the body and the soul. Somebody who's dying and somebody who's living. You don't understand that. And then he proceeds to speak about the nature of the soul. Isn't that it is never was a time when I did not exist, Krishna is telling him. Nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So it is very, very emphatic that we are eternal by nature, that how is it we come under this illusion of identifying with his body to such an extent that it boils down to what is called, I was looking at this word, nepotism. Nepotism. You know what is nepotism? Identifying with your type of persons, and to the extent that, like we see, I was hearing the news yesterday, and this one, the opposition leader was one of the, he says, it took 33 years, something like that, to dismantle apartheid. And you are doing it in 27 years, you have brought it back based on this black empowerment. Says they want to do, it seems like they want to get rid of black empowerment. Isn't it? Because it's very fabric of nepotism. We can see that how this country is, the skilled intelligence here is, they can't even find a job. That's how it is. And they have to go abroad. So the old country is like, there's a brain drain here. We see so many intelligence, like people with big, leaving the country because they can't find jobs. And this is a fact. We study so hard, we work towards all this, and we can't find a job. That is the nature of, because of this nepotism. In a more Durban slang, it's called connection call. It's connection call. Only my connections. So I have an influence over some institution, and then I bring all my connections that I know. That is nepotism. Same things happen. We see that all over now. It's very rife. And this nepotism is there. All because of this false identification with this body. This false identifying with this body, which is, we understand, is asat. It is temporary. It is temporary. So knowledge, we have to become acclimatized to the knowledge of the real knowledge. This is transcendental knowledge that will actually take us out of this material maya, material existence. Yeah. So Krishna is dissuading Arjuna and giving him the truth about the ultimate truth of Atma Tattva, the truth about the soul, the real truth, the absolute truth, Atma Tattva. So unless we understand the nature of Atma Tattva, then we'll be still floundering, identifying with this body. So one has to become at least knowledgeable in these things. So Swayambhu Muni is advising that this creation, that this body actually is made of 5 elements, and Krishna confirms that in Bhagavad Gita also. Bhumi, Apo, Nalo, Vayu, Kam. Bhumi, earth, water, fire, air, ether. These are my apara. Apara means my inferior energy. Then in the next verse he speaks about para prakriti, the superior nature, which is us, and we are exploiting the resources of this world. Yeah. So the Vedas explain that this material world is just 1/4 of the Lord's creation. That means 3/4 is the spiritual world. The Vaikuntha planets and Golok Vrindavan, they make up 3/4 of this creation. And just 1/4 is the material creation in this universe. Those who are attached to family life, who do not follow strictly celibacy vows, must live within the 3 material worlds. That is the so by the interaction of these elements, these 5 elements, there's creation. But how does creation start? First, the Lord we understand as multifarious incarnations or avatars, the Leela avatars, those for pastimes. He comes to display in different appearances. And then there's Manvantara avatars. And there's Guna avatars, which we'll be discussing in Guna avatars, and Purusha avatars. So he takes this avatar of Purusha for the sake of creation. So the Lord expands into these Vishnu expansions for the sake of creation. And this is very, very in detail discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, the creation. Not what the scientists have completely kind of misled in so many ways. They've come with so many theories of the evolution of this universe, or the creation of this universe. Big Bang theory, that there's no intelligent in control, but contrary to that, the Vedas give a very, very contrary to what the scientists of today are saying. So who do we believe? Who do we believe? We follow the acharyas, isn't our great acharyas, who follow very faithfully the Vedas, the knowledge of the Vedas. And therefore becomes very, very authentic, because it's not subject to adulteration or some mental speculation like that, or some supposition, or I think it's like this, according to my opinion, it's like that. No, it doesn't give room for all that, because it's giving it as it is. Therefore, we have faith in that. We have that faith. That creation came by some very intelligent, by great intelligence, some superior force, not by some accident or some fluke, like the scientists say. So the 5 gross elements we discussed: earth, water, fire. And then the 5 objects of the senses: the smell, taste, form, touch, and sound. Knowledge acquiring senses: eyes, nose, tongue, ears, skin. So we can understand how this creation is coming, isn't it? First, the gross elements are lying in limbo, and the Lord, by His glance, life comes. Nothing can happen without the Lord's intervention. Nothing. Because Krishna is saying, these are binna. These 5 elements, they are my binna prakriti. They are my separate energies. That means there is no life in it. It's dead. It's dead inert matter. It's dead inert matter. It has to take some fusion of some spiritual energy to bring it to life. Then the 5 working senses: voice, legs, hands, anus, and genitals. Then there's mind, intelligence, and false ego. So the aggregate of these comes to 23. From these 5, there's 23 elements. And then the unmanifested stage of the modes of material nature, 24. And the time factor, kala, the mixing element that brings it all, isn't it? So this is how creation takes place. All is explained very detailed in Srimad Bhagavatam. But to understand Bhagavatam also, you have to, the Bhagavad Gita also has the 10 topics that one has to grasp with, isn't the 10 topics of the Bhagavatam. And yeah, we mentioned the word Sarga is mentioned in this word. Sarga means creation. Creation. Then there's Visarga. Sarga, creation when the Lord is directly involved, isn't it? When He lies in this causal ocean as Mahavishnu, manifestation of Mahavishnu, and there's by His breath so many universes are created like bubbles. And then Vishaga, Brahma, Lord Brahma, the first created being in this universe, makes his appearance. Lord Brahma. We see in the Brahma Samhita, in the front cover, you'll see Brahma is, how's he pictured there? He's on a lotus flower, isn't it? And the stem of that is connected to the navel or abdomen of Mahavishnu, who's lying in this Mm. But for the skeptics, it seems like, how can this, it seems like, isn't? Then they kind of discount it, or it's just some mythical understanding of. So this Visaga, yeah. And then the Sthanam. Sthanam means the soul accepts the position of servant. The soul. Poshanam. By such display of surrender, the soul gets protection. Poshanam. Utaya, the creative impetus is there. And Manvantar, the manus get involved in involvement of the manus. And then there's Isha Anukanta. Isha Anukanta means topics we hear about the Lord. It's all this is discussed in Bhagavatam. Topics of the Lord. Nirodha, the winding up of this cosmic universe. Then there's Mukti, liberation. And finally, Ashraya. So these 10 topics are there. This is what's discussed in Bhagavatam. Ashraya, the Summum Bonum. And who is the Summum Bonum? The ultimate shelter is the Supreme Personal Godhead, Sri Krishna. Ashraya. So these, one has to understand these things also, the 10 topics. Yeah, so the creation is like this. The Lord, in his manifestation as Mahavishnu, lies down in the water, the causal ocean, Karanajal, known as Karanajal. As he sleeps within the causal ocean, innumerable universes are generated by his breathing. These floating universes are scattered all over the causal ocean. And they remain for a breath of Mahavishnu. You know, that's a long, 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 long time. In each and every universal globe, the same Mahavishnu enters as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and lies in the Garbha ocean on the serpent. There's no picture, there used to be a picture up there. On the serpentine Shesha incarnation. Sheshanath. From his navel abdomen sprouts a lotus stem, and on the lotus stem Brahma, the Lord of the universe, is born. Brahma creates all living beings in different shapes, in terms of their desires within the universe. He also creates the sun, moon, and other demigods. Then how this interaction of these 5 elements, it's mentioned here. The self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed into 3 features, become known as the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, in 3 divisions, namely creation, the powers that evolved matter, knowledge of material creation, and the intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. From the darkness of false ego, the first of the 5 elements, namely the sky. Another name for the sky is the ether. The ether is generated, the subtle form. What comes from the ether? Sound, yes. The sound. Because of the sky is transformed, the air is generated with the quality of touch. And by previous succession, the air is also full of sound and the basic principles of duration of life, sense perception, mental power, and bodily strength. When the air is transformed in course of time, the sense of touch and sound, since fire is also transformed, there is a manifestation of water, air. So there's sound, there's air, there's form. Fire generates form. And water being transformed from all variegatedness on earth appears odorous, and as previously becomes qualitatively full of juice, touch, sound, and form, respectively. So the sound, there's the sense of touch, sense of taste, water, the sense of what was that? Fragrance, smell. Comes from where? What generates fragrance? The heart, yes, the heart. Actually, the heart has all 5, isn't the all 5 of these is contained in the earth, from gross right to subtle, like that. The ether is very subtle. Then we have the mind, intelligence, and the ego. Yes. So this is how basically creation comes about. So very, very technical to understand, but it's nice to have some general knowledge of this. Of course, you want to understand it more deeply, you should read the Bhagavatam, 2nd canto is there, very much mentioned, right? Brahma, how Brahma comes about, and how the different incarnations, the Vishnu expansions are there, and how the Purusha avatars, these are the main. Of course, the Guna avatars, Brahma is in charge of creation, so he's mode of passion. Vishnu, the maintainer, mode of goodness, and then the destruction of the universe is mode of Tamagund, which Lord Shiva is in. So these are the Guna avatars. The 3 Guna avatars is Vishnu, Brahma, and Mahesh. Like that. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Rukmini? Shri Prabhupada ki, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki.